All right, guys, it's Sunday night, the end of the weekend, and you know what that means. Only one thing: football, football, and more football. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, what a fantastic week of football. Oh, my goodness, a lot of upsets. If your team won, congratulations. If your team didn't win, hopefully they'll bounce back next week. Other than that, I am Brutus J in this Brutus J podcast where we talk a lot about football, And boy, do we got a lot to talk about, beginning with college and ending with NFL. I, myself, I'm very humble, very happy to be back in my home from the University of North Carolina, other than the fact I enjoyed a wonderful birthday weekend with my family, including my son who attends University of North Carolina, which hosted Clemson Tigers. And folks, I got to tell you, the only thing that was exciting about up there was the fact that Ludacris came up there and performed, which they had booked earlier in the year, and I'm pretty sure they was hoping in this game they would have a better record, but North Carolina was defeated by Clemson 30-10. Folks, in the first half, at the end of the first half, the score was 35-3, and fans were just clearing out. They were clearing out. It was nasty. It was a real nasty game. I mean, if you're a Clemson Tiger fan, you can be a little excited because your offense did good, but I can just tell you this. If I'm a real true Clemson fan, I want to see them do it against somebody better because North Carolina didn't show any effort at all. I love my son's Tar Heels, but it was no effort showing at all in that football game. We're going to get into some more scores. On Friday night, you had BYU at home taking on West Virginia. And folks, I said it, BYU, they went into this game ranked number 23 and under the radar, and they defeated West Virginia 38-24. And I'm pretty sure with all the mix-ups this weekend, they're going to move up in those rankings, and they won't be under the radar for long. Minnesota on the road to face Ohio State, and that final was 42-3. And I'm telling you, Julius Sand, the Ohio State quarterback, is looking better and better every single week. He had 3 touchdown passes. Jeremiah Smith had 2 touchdown catches. And Bo Jackson, the running back, he also did well. Yes, I said Bo Jackson. That's his name, Bo Jackson. No relation at all, people. But Ohio State, defense and offense, look dominant as usual, and they are worthy of that number 1 ranking. All right, Miami on the road against Florida State. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. The U is back. All right, I said it. I give you credit. The U is back. They look dominant. I watched that whole game. Carson Beck looked good. He had 4 touchdown passes. You had the wide receivers look good. CJ Daniels, the other kid at wide receiver, he had 7 catches, 2 touchdowns. That kid is real fast. Malachi Tony, very fast. He had 7 catches, 107 yards. Miami just looked flat out dominant. I'm talking about all phases of the game. If you're a Miami fan, the only negative part of that game you got to look at is probably towards the end when it looked like Florida State was giving hope. But other than that, Miami dominated that whole football game. Oklahoma was home against Kent State. Hey, like I said, a game they needed. They got an injured quarterback, so hopefully, they got a bye coming up soon, and, it'll give their starting quarterback Heisman hopeful time to rest and heal up for SEC play. Mississippi State was on the road at Texas A&M. Hey, it started off a little close, but, Texas A&M, they realized who they was playing and what they needed to do, and they took care of business and won that game by the score of 31-9. And the Aggies, who are ranked number 6 in this game, probably will be moving up. Now, upset of the weekend. Penn State on the road at UCLA, a winless UCLA. Now, nobody, and I mean nobody, including myself, saw this coming. Nobody. Penn State was defeated 42-37. Folks, at one point, it was 28-7. Penn State tried to make a comeback. Didn't happen. And at the end of this game, James Franklin was interviewed, and his excuse was, the team was still emotionally, upset after the loss. They had the Oregon and they had some injured players. Folks, I'm going to tell you, that ain't no excuse. This right here is all coaching. And I have, for the past, I always defend James Franklin because he's a good coach. He's always criticized for the big football games he loses. Well, this right here wasn't a big football game. This is a game he should have went in, coached up, and win. They should have won this game. They really should have won this game. This was a coaching opportunity after a big loss. a big time coaching opportunity, to pick your boys up. I don't care if they were traveling the other side of the country. They should have no business losing to UCLA. But a little bit of side notes. The former quarterback from Tennessee who transferred to UCLA, Nico, kid did good. It's been a lot of, criticism of him and his decisions, but he had a pretty decent game, combined almost 450 plus yards, 160 something yards passing. And I think he had like 150 something yards rushing, but the kid looked real good. He pretty much prevailed UCLA Bruins to this victory. Texas on the road at Florida. 29-21, Florida was able to beat Texas. Another game, I'm not going to say nobody expected Texas to lose this game. I expected them to win, but there was a lot of people who questioned Texas going into this game because they really haven't played anybody, since Ohio State. I expected their defense to do a lot better in this game, and they didn't. Don't get me wrong, Dallas Wilson, the freshman wide receiver for Florida, made his college debut this year, and it looked like him and DJ Lagway have been best friends since they came out the womb. I mean, they were connecting all day. All day they was connecting, and, they prevailed Florida to a victory of 29-21. And Arch Manning, man, that's another guy. I've been defending this kid too, and he's just got to get better. And it's a tough situation, for Steve Sarkisian. It's a very tough situation, because you got a high profile quarterback. If you bench him, I'm pretty sure a lot of the fan base won't mind, but then you got others. I won't say who they are, but it's others who are gonna question because Arch, he's a high profile name, so it's decisions to be made in Austin because Texas has a lot of talent on that team, to be losing like that. They've lost 2 games, and guess what? They're out top 25 in state, out of the top 25, but we'll get to that a little later. Yep, a lot of work to be done in Texas. Vanderbilt on the road at Alabama. The score was 30-14, but that score is not how the game went. That touchdown was last minute. Vanderbilt played Alabama very tough. A lot of mistakes made in that game, by Diego. He played decent, towards the end. Vanderbilt had a couple of opportunities to go up by multiple digits. He had a turnover one time, Diego turned the ball over one time, and then another time when he had a chance to take the lead, he turned the ball over again. So a few mistakes, caused them to lose. I'm not going to put it all on the quarterback. It was a team effort, but Alabama, they look good and they won, and guess what? People are going to start talking about them again, up until the point that when they really start getting deep in the SEC play. But the Crimson Tide were able to win 30-14. Texas Tech defeated Houston 35-11. That was a no-brainer right there. Georgia, they defeated Kentucky 35-14. The Dogs needed that win after that loss against Alabama. Iowa State, now, number 14, Iowa State was at Cincinnati. I thought Iowa State was going to win this game, but they didn't. Cincinnati was able to defeat them 38-30. That's a tough environment to play. That I did say. I expected Iowa State to win, but that is a tough environment to play at Cincinnati. Many people don't forget. I mean, Cincinnati not too long ago was close to getting to the national championship game. All right, Michigan was at home against Wisconsin, and they won that game 24-10. And Justice Haynes, he just keep on rolling, folks. Another 100-yard game. Justice Haynes is balling. Probably the best running back in the nation right now. Notre Dame was at home against Boise State, and just like I said, run, and that's what Notre Dame and Jeremiah Love did, and it propelled them to a 28-7 win over Iowa State. Illinois, they defeated Purdue 43-27. Everybody knew they was going to win that game. If you had a loss or if you're looking for a 2-game winning streak, Purdue is the right team to run into at this moment. Virginia was on the road at Louisville. I picked Louisville to win this game, and hey, Virginia pulled it off in overtime. Chandler Morris, another good game. For those who don't know, that's Chad Morris' son, who at one point was the head coach at Arkansas. So, the kid is balling. His dad is a coach, so offensive-minded coach. So, hey, kid knows how to ball. But that pretty much wraps up your top 25 for college football this weekend. It was a great weekend. Like I said, enjoyed family time. I had a 45th birthday, in North Carolina with my wife and my 2 sons. We had a good time. And The only negative thing, like I said, was seeing that loss, and that's my second home game I've went to this year where North Carolina was defeated really, really bad, and everybody was leaving by the second half. Hopefully, the Tar Heels will get back on top. Well, I ain't gonna say on top, but start winning games. But like I said, Bill Belichick has a lot of work to do in Chapel Hill because I got to tell you, the critics are really coming down heavy on him. And I'm talking about like alumni, former players tweeting. Heck, I saw where a current player was a current player for UNC was tweeting back at an NFL player who was at UNC arguing over the issues at North Carolina. But that's the way it is right now. But like I said, hopefully the Tar Heels will get back on track. All right, let's talk some NFL. Starting early this morning, you had the Minnesota Vikings in London against the Cleveland Browns. Minnesota Vikings is the only NFL team that hasn't lost in London. They came in this game 4-0, and guess what? They 5-0. And you know me, I'm a purple people eater. Came back in the fourth quarter with probably under a minute, scored a touchdown to prevail in the victory. Jordan Addison caught a touchdown pass from Carson Wentz. This kid, this is his second game back, and with Jordan Addison in that lineup, it makes it a lot easier for Justin Jefferson, who also had over 100 yards of catches or whatever. So having Jordan Addison backs helps the Minnesota Vikings out a lot. So looking forward to that rookie getting back out there at quarterback because, Lord knows, we need him to get all the experience that he can just in case the Vikes make the playoffs. All right. You had the Houston Texans on the road at Baltimore. And as we know, Lamar Jackson did not play in this game. And folks, it showed. Houston rolled 44-10. CJ Stroud had 4 touchdown passes. I mean, they looked good. They smelled blood coming in the game, and they left with blood on them. So a win that Houston needed, well needed. They're on a 2-game winning streak now. Hopefully Lamar gets back, but right now it's not looking good in Baltimore. Giants were on the road at the Saints, a game that I picked the Giants to win. Jackson Dart should have had his second straight win because Lord knows the Saints had all kind of issues. And to start the game, the Giants jumped up, I think, 14-3. But the Saints managed to come back and win the game 20-14. Jackson Dart had 2 interceptions. Scatterboo, the running back, had a fumble, and New Orleans were able to advance that fumble for a touchdown. So a lot of mistakes by the rookies in that game that caused the Giants to lose. Broncos at the Eagles. Now, I got a good buddy. We talked about him. He wanted me to talk about the Eagles a lot more, and I'm definitely going to talk about him. Now, I picked the Eagles to win, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one who picked the Eagles to win. I said that it would be a scary game because Bo Nix is scrappy, and folks, it showed. The Broncos were losing this game all the way up to the fourth quarter to where they managed to score 15 points. They scored 15 points, to win this game 21-17. And how about this? Went for 2-point conversion. The score could have been tied 17-17, but how about it? Sean Payton went for 2, and they went up 18-17. And then after that, kicked the field goal. So, the Broncos upset the Eagles. But my question is this. What in the world is Saquon Barkley doing having 6 carries for 30 yards? 6 carries the whole game, folks. You got the 2024 NFL Offensive Player of the Year carrying the ball 6 times. And get this, he had a 45-yard touchdown reception, but only ran the ball 6 times. I mean, I don't understand that. But Broncos 21 and the Eagles 17. Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? They were able to defeat the Jets 37-22. And Dak Prescott had 4 touchdown passes in that game. So, hey, good game for Dak. A good road win for them Cowboys. I know the nation's most popular NFL team, other than the Steelers, I guess, are sitting at home happy right now. So congratulations to all you Cowboy fans out there. All right, the Raiders were on the road against the Colts. Lord, 40-6, the Colts over the Raiders. Man, they really put it on my dad's Raiders, and I kind of feel bad for him. Jonathan Taylor had 3 touchdowns, carried the ball 17 times for 68 yards, and, the Colts are rolling. They lost their first game last week against the Rams, but hey, they bounced back this week against the Raiders. All right, the victory of the night. The Carolina Panthers hosted the Miami Dolphins. And let's go ahead and say it, the NFL's two worst ranked organizations tonight. The Panthers, like as I said, were able to win 27-24. The Dolphins were actually winning this game. Tua had a decent game. He had 3 touchdown passes, and Bryce Sean didn't have that good of a game, but when it came to bringing his team back, later on, he propelled them back. And also another standout for this Panthers team, the former Cowboy, who I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't remember. He balled out. He had a real good game. Rico Dowdle, 23 carries for 206 yards. And guess what? They play Dallas Cowboys next week. So he's probably going to be looking forward to playing his former team in that game. Buccaneers on the road in Seattle. And man, I got to tell you, this game had a lot of offense. The Buccaneers were able to win this game 38-35. Baker Mayfield, man, he balled out. He went 29 for 33, 2 touchdown passes. QBR was 134.7. Baker balled out. But guess what? Sam Darnold also balled out. He had 4 touchdown passes for 341 yards. So, these quarterbacks were going back and forth. Not a lot of defense in this game, but the Buccaneers were able to pull this game out. And I love those throwback uniforms they had, too. Remember the old orange, the real light orange? Buccaneers was rocking it, and it looked good. And they defeated the Seattle Seahawks 35. Titans on the road against those hated Arizona Cardinals. And when I say hated, we're talking about myself. I do not like the Arizona Cardinals, and y'all will continue to hear me say that. Titans were able to win this game 22-21. The rookie Cam Ward didn't do too bad, but it wasn't too good either. He was okay. This was the Titans' first win, and they kicked the field goal in the last few seconds to propel them to a 22-21 victory. Washington Commanders were on the road against the San Diego Chargers, and Jaden Daniels returned, and they won 27-10. Jaden, he didn't have too good of a game, but it was decent. It was a homecoming game for him, going back to California, because that's exactly where he's from, which I'm pretty sure that's why they made to where he can come back home and play. But he was 15 of 26, 231 yards, and a touchdown pass. I don't know what is going on with Justin Herbert these past couple of games. The Chargers started the season off, I think they were 3-0, and they lost the previous week to the Giants. And now this week they come back home and lose to the Commanders. So, they got a bit of a struggle going on here. So Harbaugh, he got a lot of work to do. Lions were on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals and won 30-24. Folks, this score was a lot worse than this. The 24 points, those were kind of like the last quarter or so. The Lions clearly dominated this game big time. Jared Goff spread the ball out pretty much. He had 3 touchdown passes in this game. You had David Montgomery. He had a touchdown pass. Amon St. Brown, he had 8 catches, 100 yards, so they pretty much balled out. Like I said, Cincinnati, without Joe Burrow this year, don't look for much more with them. So it's going to be more of a struggle. Right now, currently playing the Patriots and the Bills, and it is 3-3 in the second quarter. I'm pretty sure the Buffalo Bills going to manage to win that game, but hey, don't quote me on that because we never know, because this has been upset city, college and NFL. But overall, it's still early in the NFL. If I was to say probably right now, as far as the NFC, the best team right now, in my opinion, are the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are just balling. They're balling. As far as the AFC, they're playing right now the Buffalo Bills. So right now, the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, are the top 2 teams in the NFL. As far as college, you got to go with Ohio State. And I guess I'll go ahead and say it again. I already done put up the symbol. Miami and Ohio State, are the top 2 teams in college football right now. That's pretty much how the rankings are. You got Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, that round out your top 5. 6 is Oklahoma, 7 Indiana, 8 Alabama, 9 Texas Tech, and then 10 you got the University of Georgia. And man, when you look at this top 5, I just can't help but just to keep staring at Ole Miss. How about that? Last year Ole Miss spent all that money on the transfer portal, had a decent year last year, should have been in the playoffs. Decent year last year. But, the they lost all those guys. They lost all those guys. And most schools like Mississippi, Ole Miss, or whatever you want to say it, most schools like them, they might have 1 year where they spend a lot of money, but they can't afford to do that 2 years in a row. And so here we are in a year where they didn't spend a lot of money, and they're in the top 5. So that's clearly a good job of coaching by Lane Kiffin. But like I said, Ohio State and Miami are balling. I mean, Oregon is not that far behind. Oregon is not that far behind at all. But just like the NFL, it's still early in college as well. So, I'm pretty sure there are going to be more upsets in the making, especially in college football, because we got a lot of tough games that are going to take place next week. You got South Carolina, LSU. You got Ohio State at Illinois. You got Alabama at Missouri. That's a ranked game. It's tough to win at Missouri. So, it's going to be another tough week next week for a lot of these teams. But that pretty much wraps up this weekend of football. And I'm looking forward to another great week. Thursday, audio only. Friday night, high school clips. And then Sunday, I might have an interview lined up. And like I said before, I have a special show coming up where we're going to be talking about kids, our kids. I love the kids. We're going to talk about recruiting, flag football, rec league football, middle school football, all that stuff, safety, what to look for in recruiting, coaches in college, all that stuff. We're going to talk about that. It's going to be a special show where I want to talk. I think personally it's going to be one of the best shows I've did. This right here is episode 8. Dang, that's crazy. I'm almost at episode 10, and we've been doing this thing barely over a month. You know why? I love to talk sports. I mean, it's crazy, folks. When you love doing something, you can't wait to do it, and you enjoy doing it. And, I'm really figuring that out. I mean, all my life, I've worked hard without really doing something that I really, really enjoy doing. And now that I'm doing it, man, I am having a ball at doing this. My wife, she looks at me constantly when I'm headed, in the cave, my man cave. When I'm headed down here, she has a smile on her face, and she can just see how happy I am, and she enjoys listening to me every morning. After a show that I do, she takes it upon herself to make sure she play it in her ear in her car, and hopefully you guys are doing the same as well. Because like I said, the numbers are going up. And thank you guys on all the social media who was wishing me a happy 45th birthday. But once again, if you haven't subscribed or followed, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. Please, the same tag, Brutus J Podcast. Until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And like I said, audio only Thursday, Friday night high school clips, and we'll be back at it Sunday as far as video. You guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon.